So this year marks only the second time ever in history that the biggest watch fair in the world is open to the public. And I know you have probably seen all of the videos about, the press days and the scheduled press appointments, but I wanted to show you what it is like to attend like anybody else. So in this video, I will answer everything you want to know about attending the fair as a, non-industry person. So no press advantages or anything like that. So I'm going to cover questions like, how do you get there? What's the location like? What are the do's and don'ts? How is the food? And what is there to do and see? And all of these and many more questions will be answered in this video, so you know whether or not this is worth it for you to attend the next time. So let's get started. Okay, so let's quickly start out with the tickets, because without them, there's no way to get inside. Tickets are not available on site, so you have to order them online. All you need is a credit card and a somewhat good selfie and you are set. You can buy tickets for only one day, or you can get package deals if you want to visit the fair in the span of a couple of days. For this year, a single ticket was 70 Swiss francs, which is about 72 euro or 77 US dollars. So the Saturday on which I went was the first day of the public days for this year, and on Friday evening all tickets for that day have been sold out. So we have just arrived. We went through the gates with our tickets, and now we're gonna make our way through I guess that's the security over there. I'm very excited. Yeah, I will try to film as much as possible and we'll see us inside. First thing that you see when you come inside, it looks quite nice. So if you want to make sure that you can actually enter the fair on your preferred date, it is smart to buy the tickets as soon as possible, or as soon as you know when you want to go, so you won't stand there, empty-handed. So the Watches&Wonders fair is held at Palexpo. It's a convention center next to the airport in Geneva in Switzerland. It is well connected, so you can easily fly in, or can take the train, but be aware that you won't really be able to walk from the airport. I checked Google Maps because we were arriving by plane, and it looked like it's totally, walkable. But the footpath would have, led around the entire airport, so you just, better take a taxi or a bus, or you can also grab a shuttle, which is also being offered by Watches&Wonders, and save you some time. Okay, next I quickly want to cover the Palexpo and its amenities, because those things are, important to me, and I am sure they are important to many of you out there too. So what really stood out to me here are the acoustics, or just, the overall vibe. They have laid down a carpet everywhere, and there was also like a matching fabric on the ceiling. So even in more crowded areas, like in front of Rolex or Patek and Tudor, I never got the feeling of it being too loud or like annoyingly noisy there. Besides the lights from different booths and stores and everything, there were also only very, very few direct light sources. So most light came from indirect lighting, which really helped, smooth out the sensory input here. Since there are also no windows, so no natural light coming in, it was great that everything else seemed to have been designed to keep the sensory noise down, which makes spending an entire day inside there so much more enjoyable. Perhaps some of you might think that those things are neglectable for a day, but I wanted to mention it for those who are also, struggling with, big crowds of people and the sensory input that comes with it and you get from that. So if that is you, I can assure you that Watches&Wonders really did a great job here at making it enjoyable for you. So about the food, we did have lunch there and also sat down for a little coffee break. And from what we have tried, I can say that though, prices are not the cheapest, it's to be expected at the fair, it is still within the range of what you, I guess, expect. So for my lunch, I paid, I think it was 25 euro, which included a main course. I got a little roll with it and also a bottle of water to drink. And there are also lots of little service areas in the middle of the walkways where you can, just sit down and have a snack or something to drink. But if you want to eat at one of the restaurants, you, in I guess 9 out of 10 cases, have to either be part of the press or you have to make a special reservation beforehand, which I, to be honest, don't know how you would be able to do that as a regular person. They have these little signs up that say only by invite or invitation, which I found to be pretty damn annoying, because you could practically only go to these bar service areas, or this was kind of like a takeaway kind of thing where they had salad bowls and sandwiches. So yeah, if you don't have a special invitation, so silly, you won't be able to eat at a restaurant there, which I think is just ridiculous in my opinion. Other than that, I was very positively surprised about the many seating areas. There was always lots of space to, sit down on a bench and relax for a bit, which I think is so important. I've been to other expos before, not watch related, but where if you wanted to sit down, you had to sit on the ground because there was no options other way. Oh, and I also like to quickly note that though tickets were all sold out for the day, it not once felt overcrowded. Because when I heard about the sellout of the tickets, I was worried that it might, negatively affect the experience, but it seems like they only made as many tickets available to not have the venue feel like overcrowded, which I think is such a huge plus for me. Okay, now that we have the non-watch related stuff covered, let's get to the nitty-gritty, the really important stuff. The reason we all went there, of course, the watches. So first off, like I said in the beginning, we did not schedule any meetings or made any appointments with brands because we wanted to experience the fair like everybody else. So of course, I wanted to know what there is to do at the fair, or if it's just going to be, window shopping in a different setting. And here I have a bit of a mixed review. So let me say this first. With some brands, you really have to manage your expectations. But, in general, overall, I can say that the bigger or more popular the brand, the less I felt like the staff at the booth cared. But, let's start from the top. Let's start from the beginning. So when we arrived, we started with a smaller or the independent brands. Since it was still early and most people started to queue up for Rolex or Tudor, etc., we wanted to, check out the other booths or stalls, however you would call them. Nomos, for example, had their entire collection of novelties laid out for everyone to try on. You could just, walk in and physically pick up any watch without, needing to ask someone for it or anything like that, which I think was fantastic. At Ulysse Nardin, we could immediately, start chatting to one of the watchmakers, who then very spontaneously, they let us look at and try on one of their prototype watches while he was explaining the complications to us. A similar thing with Piaget. I know the booth is definitely bigger and it was so impressive. The people there were really an extremely nice, and I could not really believe it myself, but we did ask about one of the highlights of their exhibition. They got the world's thinnest tourbillon that was in this display case, and we asked for it and they said, yeah, sure. And then they led us directly into a séparé, and we were able to try on and look at that watch. So we just went inside to Piaget and the guy was super nice. We saw one of the thinnest tourbillons. He showed it to us. I will insert some footage. It was amazing. The watch is so thin. It also feels very nice. It is made from cobalt. And we were able to, you could just come up there and ask for a watch and they would show it to you. So such a nice experience, and we're gonna keep continuing. But then you had Patek Philippe, for example, who had this really huge, and it's this beautiful glass booth or stand or whatever. And you could see as we were standing on the outside that there were people inside that weren't just staff. And they were looking at the watches, but they would not let anyone in without a special invitation, which I think is so lame and it's shitty. I don't know. The lady there, she was polite about it, and kept repeating that every watch that is available inside is also displayed for people to look at from the outside. But come on, like I said, I think that's just really stupid in my opinion. Besides that, lots of brands had all different kinds of activities you could do at their booths or stalls, whatever. They got different types of presentations, or you had physical experiences. For example, at Vacheron, you could move around these plates that showcase the most complicated watch movement in the world, or you had that little don't steal me gimmick at Chopin and all of that stuff. So some brands also had secluded areas within their stands. There were also invitational VIP only, like IWC, which I also found to be a bit alienating because they very obviously visually separated people within their own area, in which the VIPs, and they called it that, not me, we specifically asked if we could check out that space, and they said, no, this is just for VIPs. They could sit down there, have coffee or something to drink and relax. Coming to those public days are the people who, want to buy your watches. They're your actual customers and clients. And I think you need to impress them and not the journalists. But that's just my take on this. Anyway, so besides the obvious going directly into brands booths, there were kiosks and little shopping areas in which you could buy all sorts of books about watches and jewelry and stuff like this. Since those are big and heavy, I would recommend buying them at the end so you don't have to lug them around for the entire day. There was also an exhibition about watches in general. and typekeeping and an auditorium, you know, to sit down in, and you could listen to presentations for the entire day if that's what you're into. So overall, there was plenty to do and to see, but I still feel that you could fit most things into just, you know, one entire day, which I think is great because you don't get the feeling that you've missed out on things if you're just staying there for one day. Which leads me directly to my do's and don'ts for Watches and Wonders to make sure that you make the most of your time there. So let's start with the do's first. My first do is check out the smaller brands. I think this is where the Watches and Wonders experience really shines. At least it did so to me. You can really tell that the smaller or you know, the independent ones, they work really hard to give you a great experience. It is so much easier to get into, you know, a little chat there and talk to the people who work there. It's also easier to get like a touch and feel session in which you can try on watches, which I think makes things just 10 times better. My do number 2 would be to be direct. And what I mean by that is just be direct and just ask. We had our best results and the best experiences when we were just being a bit cheeky sometimes and just, you know, straight up ask directly for the watches we wanted to take a look at. And I mean, to be honest, we didn't think it was going to work in the most cases, so we were extremely surprised when, you know, like I said in the beginning, the people at Piaget were like, oh yeah, of course we're going to show you, you know, the highlight of our exhibition. Please sit down. So just be bold and ask. I mean, the worst case is that you get a no and you probably won't see these people ever again. So, you know, who cares? And number 3 would be to plan ahead. Like I've mentioned with the lunch situation, I would recommend planning your lunch or snack in advance and the ticket. I'm still unsure about how you can book a table, you know, at one of these invite-only restaurants, but for next year, I will do my research on that. And now for my don'ts at the fair, I want to continue with, you know, logistics and planning ahead and say that number 1, do not arrive by car. It is much easier to take the train, for example, or start at the airport because there are free shuttles that will take you to the fair and back to the airport. Secondly, do not get discouraged by the queues. I think many have already seen the images and the footage of these long queues in front of Rolex or Tudor. But though it looks tough, I get it. It takes only like 10 to 15 minutes at most. Same goes for others. Throughout the day, there were always queues in front of Vacheron or JLC or Cartier, for example. But when we queued up for it, we would be standing there for like 5 minutes tops, which I think is totally okay. And number 3 would be, do not be intimidated. I know, easier said than done, but don't be intimidated by all of the fancy looking stuff and expensive watches. In 9 out of 10 cases, people are super friendly and welcoming, and there is no need to feel weird about this. Okay, so now we went over the prices, how to get there, the center itself, the amenities and the experiences, as well as the do's and don'ts. So now we are left with the overarching question of whether or not it is worth it. So let me give you a quick rundown of the pros and cons here. So from my experience now, I can say that visiting the fair is not worth it if you are, you know, looking for a more hands-on experience with bigger brands. It won't happen unless you're scheduling some kind of appointment or, you know, are being part of the press or the industry, or I don't know, like an important client or customer or whatever, something like that. If that's what you are, you know, mainly interested in, to have like a touch and feel session, or mainly that, it is better, I would say, to stick with going directly to an AD or into the brand's boutique. B, it is not worth it if you want to, you know, have a look at anything from Swatch Group, because they do not attend a fair. Doesn't mean they won't showcase the novelties someplace else. Lots of brands, you know, besides Swatch Group, were hosting events in the city of Geneva at, you know, like different hotels. So make sure you research beforehand if that specific brand or brands you are, you know, interested in are, you know, exhibiting their stuff at the expo center or are in the city. Okay, now that that is out of the way, let me tell you for whom it is actually worth visiting Watches and Wonders. Let me start by saying that overall, even if you're not a die-hard watch nerd, it is one of the coolest experiences ever. The booths and stands, they look incredible, and the entire, you know, like atmosphere there is charged with, you know, curiosity and knowledge and fun, and you can just tell that people are so excited to be there too. It's, you know, amazing to just meet so many like-minded people, you know, to have a chat directly with the women and men who create the watches you love to wear. And it's all set in a place that is so well designed for that purpose, you know, with the carpet and the colors and the lighting. It's also fantastic to learn more about brands you've never heard of and, you know, experience watches from a completely different perspective. Some brands, they exhibited their machines, like the Guilloche machine from, I think it was like the 1900s, like an original at Ulysse Nardin, for example. And to me, you know, the watch hobby often feels very much like an online only thing. But, you know, seeing so many people being there at the fair for the same reasons as me, it just gave me such a nice feeling of, you know, connection and community. And I think that just in itself is priceless. It is also incredible for watch spotting. Oh my gosh, I've never seen so many unique and rare watches within a day. That was insane, just incredible. So yes, that concludes my report on this year's Watches and Wonders. It was my first time. I hope this was useful for everyone who is still thinking about going next year. Feel free to ask any questions down below that I have not answered yet. At this point, I also want to thank everyone who came up to me and said hi. You guys were truly the highlights of my day. I was able to meet and talk to so many of you who, you know, watch my videos and support the channel, and I could not be more grateful. So let me say thank you so much for watching this, for your support. Of course, for everyone who's watching this right now as well, it really means the world. And yeah, if you have enjoyed this video, I really hope you did. Make sure to give it a thumbs up, and if you want to, subscribe to my channel if you want to watch more videos like this one. And that is pretty much all I have for you today. Again, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!